UFC fighters of all time, none other than the champion. I call you champion, Holly Holm. Hi, Holly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. We got you caught in your car there. You're looking fresh. Are you on your way to training or coming back from training or what?
In between. I had wrestling class this morning. I'm going to run and do a little strength training, and then I'll go back and do some mitt work.
Very cool. Nice long day. A couple of meals in between, I hope.
I did eat. I just ate in my car. That's where I usually eat my lunch.
Now, wait. A lot of people eat fast food in cars. Now, Holly, come on. We all want to know. What did you eat for lunch?
Today,
You're training.
I had Cobb salad.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce.
Perfect.
I think this is like our third year in a row around the holiday times that we've had Holly on the program. So you can say Holly for the holidays or Holm for the holidays if you want. Some radio puns in there, right?
Yeah, home for the holidays.
There we go.
Are those original statements, Holly, or you've heard those before, right? I'm sure.
Actually, home for the holidays is a new one. I'll give you that.
Good,
All
good.
right,
I like that one too.
Okay, there has been Holly days,
Right,
holidays.
right.
But you know the best Christmas song there is, right?
Well, I have a couple, so tell me yours.
Okay. Have a holly jolly.
Yeah, I know that. You know what? One of these days we talked about it. I want to do a CD of Christmas carols where myself and fighters sing the carols for the fans. Like
Fun.
Herb Dean, I want to put this together. So now that you said that, if I ever do that, you're getting the call, Holly. You're getting the call.
Song I'm singing.
All right, sounds good.
My question, Holly,
Yes.
is are you going to sing for Cris Cyborg, and will it be a Holly, like, nightmarish Christmas? Is that what it's going to be for the UFC's featherweight champion?
Basically, with a victory, I'll sing anything.
There you go.
That's what I'm for. Win, and then who knows what's gonna happen after that.
Well, let's talk about this because all of us are so excited. I mean, you're taking on the monster Cyborg, and she's taking on the monster Holly Holm. Okay, let's be real. Now, Holly, your experience, what you've done in your boxing career, your kickboxing career, you fought as a welterweight, a light welterweight, a bantamweight, a featherweight. In the UFC, you fought at 135. Now you're fighting at 145, and you're fighting for the championship, okay? So the featherweight championship. When you fought as a welterweight in kickboxing and boxing, what was the weight they had you fight at?
So the three weight classes that I fought in boxing were 40, 47, and 54.
Okay.
I never even weighed 54 when I went to weigh-ins for those fights, but it's very different in boxing.
Right.
Because you don't have someone laying on top of you, you don't have someone pushing you on the cage. You don't have, it's a different game. So the weight difference in boxing, you don't feel as much of a difference as you do carrying someone's weight or being in the, boxing, you get in the clinch, guess what? Then the ref breaks you up.
Breaks you up.
Clinch when you're up against somebody bigger, you can feel their strength. And so it does change a few of the elements. I'm not saying that, now obviously technique can trump any kind of strength as well, but it is a little different in MMA. And, but most of my fights were at 140 in boxing. So that's why 145 is like a little heavier for me and 135 is a little lower, but
so speak with the 5 pounds heavier weight, how does that affect your power and your speed? And my guess is it gives you more power, but you also still maintain your speed because you fought at this weight before.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same for me. The biggest thing for me that as strength wise is that I've been trying to train a lot more. Even with wrestling today, I wanted to, mostly the guys kind of putting me through the hard work and just so I can feel strength. And even with some of my drilling and things like that, I want to have even, and it's not just the strength, but it's also the endurance to deal with it. Maybe you can deal with somebody in the clinch for the first round, but you still need to be able to have that strength to be able to do it 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so I want to have the conditioning with the strength, and that comes with practice and training.
Hey,
yeah, absolutely.
If you don't mind, Bruce, I'd like to
go
jump
ahead.
in
Go
here
ahead.
and just ask a question, Holly. Like, obviously, you need to have your strength on point and understand what your body feels like at 145. But when getting ready for someone like Cris Cyborg, who is easily the strongest person in the division, the strongest person in women's mixed martial arts, how do you replicate that, and how do you get used to that in the gym?
I've mostly just been going with the guys because I know they're stronger and I know that they're going to push me. And my teammates are very they don't want to baby me because they know that's not going to get me anywhere. So they'll put it on me. They'll go hard. They'll hit me hard. They'll clinch me hard. They'll be trying for takedowns. They put hard pressure on the cage. They do a lot of that kind of thing. So they make that realistic for me as if what the fight would be, you know. And when I'm tired, they're not necessarily trying to lay off. They want to keep pushing me because they want me to feel like I'm in that fight. And I've had that in my training camp.
But you know,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just following up on that sort of question. The other thing that obviously you need to prepare for with Cris is something that may be to your advantage already. And the old saying is the quickest way from point to point is a straight line. Your technique and striking and combinations are a lot more fundamentally sound, where Cyborg is still a throwback to the shoot-a-box days, the looping sort of punches. How much do you think your technique is going to maybe outshine hers, and is that the key to her sort of downfall? I mean, you solved the Ronda Rousey mystery. Is the Cris Cyborg mystery as simple as you have better technique?
I feel like with Cris Cyborg, it's the right game plan, and I feel confident in the game plan that my coaches have given me. What it comes down to is performing it, and with Ronda, I was able to perform that, and that's what I want to do in this fight. So I have no excuses with, you know, what training and advice I've had. I have the best coaches, and I feel very prepared in that aspect. But it still comes down to me doing it. You know, once the bell rings, it's just you two in there, and it's all about executing that game plan that has been, you know, put together. That's the biggest part. That makes the difference between a victory or a loss. She knows that I've had this, you know, experience from boxing, and I know she knows that I've had more actual ring experience than her. Mm-hmm. And I know that she's being prepared for that as well. So we have to kind of give a little bit of space. We have our game plan, but we also have to give a little space for that if she's, you know, she's going to have her game plan as well. And so you kind of have to see how the fight goes, and I want to be able to be adaptable to whatever situation I get put in, whatever round it might be.
Very well put, because, you know, basically it's a 5-round fight. We all know that. Your experience level probably is more than anybody that you fight. I don't know anybody who's got more experience than you. I mean, you defended titles like 18 times in 3 weight classes, 2-time Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, and BoxRec. I have a question for you. They have you as the second best female professional boxer of all time. Who's number 1? I mean, you beat Christy Martin. Is it Lucia Riker or Layla Ali is my guess for number 1?
I don't know. I know that it's kind of hard to say because, you know, one of the girls that knocked me out in boxing, Anne Sophie, a lot of people say Anne Sophie Mathis. I think it's Anne Sophie Mati. She's one of the French girls. She's very good as well. I wound up fighting her twice. And then Cecilia, actually, which is who, you know, everybody's been blowing me up. Oh, did you see that Cecilia? She could be one of those. She's had a lot of experience, and she's a very, very dominant champion. She's still fighting boxing, and Cyborg, she hired her to come over and help with the fight and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's the number 1 or not, which all that stuff, I actually like when everybody else tries to team up to try to solve my puzzle, you know? Yeah.
It gives you a bit of an incentive and a bit of motivation, I'm sure, at the same time. With Cyborg, who, you know, a lot of people, as TJ said, I mean, they consider her a monster, what she does. She's good on the ground. I've announced her in the Abu Dhabi ADCC Submission Wrestling Championships. We know what she can do on striking. TJ brought up a very key point, which I talk about all the time. In mixed martial arts versus boxing or kickboxing, in boxing, the way most people train in kickboxing is to punch right down the pipe, short moves, full body behind each punch, as much power into that punch as you can, like a Kelvin Gastelum, or the way you fight. I think the straight down the pipe technique against Cyborg, who's still, like TJ said, is a bit of a looper and a puncher, yet devastating in what she does. When you think about this fight, would you consider this, out of all the years you've been fighting, boxing, kickboxing, and MMA, is this your toughest fight so far, or is every fight of equal quality that you just prepare for?
I absolutely think that this is the biggest fight for me. The toughest fight. It's that for a lot of reasons too. You know, my MMA experience has been at 135. I did have the one fight at 145, but she's not just a 145er, but she's one of the biggest in that division even. So it's not like just going, you know, I know that she's said a lot of times that everybody in the 135-pound division is dodging her. I like to correct that and say nobody in the 135-pound division is dodging her. She's dodging them because she doesn't want to go to that weight. That'd be like me calling out 125ers. You know, that doesn't work.
Right.
So nobody's dodging her. She doesn't want to go there because she only feels comfortable at her weight. But with that, I think that that's, of course, in a fight camp, you're going to use anything to keep your own mind positive, right? I see that as well. She doesn't want to go out of hers. I'm going out of mine because I believe I can do it, you know. And I don't mind really testing the waters in my career. I don't want to get to the end of my career and think that I protected myself too much. And how can I really be that happy about wins if I didn't challenge myself? So that's why I wanted to challenge myself with this fight. I know that she's challenging herself as well with this fight because I'm a different fighter than she's ever fought.
Totally.
So I do think that we both know we're in for a fight. We both know that.
I'm curious, Holly, real quick, Bruce, sorry to cut you off here. Holly, one of the most dangerous weapons that you have is your camp, your coaches, Mike Winklejohn, Greg Jackson. They're some of the best tacticians in not even just combat sports, in sports in general. When it comes down to strategy, I don't think anybody adjusts on the fly better than those two. When you look at Cyborg and the issues that she's had in her previous fights, I mean, the one time she's looked human recently is when she lost to Joanna Bars in Muay Thai. The thing that is similar to that fight in this fight, obviously it's a mixed martial arts fight, but it's still, if it plays out the way that people believe it will, it's a kickboxing affair. Do you feel that the things that Bars was able to exploit in their Muay Thai fight, is there anything that you can exploit in an MMA fight that primarily takes place on the feet?
I feel like it's still going to be a little different. I mean, there's things, yes, I've watched that fight, and there's things that I can take from that fight, but it's still different because in that type of a fight, you know, once you hit the ground, everybody stands up, dusts off their hands, and gets back up, and that's not how MMA is. You know, the grind starts right there. So it is very different in that aspect. I'm also not quite as long as she is. You know, I actually think that Cris and I have a very similar height and reach. We're similar. She's just thicker, you know, she's just bigger, but I think we're both 5'8". I'm not really sure what her reach is to mine, so it is a little different. I mean, she was 5'11" maybe, or even 6.
Sure.
So that changes a little bit of that, you know. So
actually going to interrupt you. They have her down at 5'8". She's the same height as you.
She's talking about Bars. She's talking about your Bars.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
So Cyborg, I started talking about two different things without like really switching.
I followed you, Holly. I followed. You're good. You know, this is one thing, Bruce, that I'm curious if you'll kind of co-sign on it with me. A lot of people that fight Cyborg, Holly, everyone asks them, "Oh, have you ever been hit by anybody like Cyborg?" I gotta think that Cyborg hasn't been hit by anybody like Holly Holm. And I think that's going to be interesting if you're able to land a flush shot on the button and see how Cris Cyborg reacts, because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it in her 10-plus years of dominance in mixed martial arts.
We haven't seen her get nailed, though, to see that reaction.
Right.
You know, somebody to do that. Holly did that with Ronda. We know that. She's done it with multiple opponents. I think when she tastes your power, you know, and especially just a good shot right between the eyes, it's going to be maybe that will make her think twice. And I wonder if that'll affect her offense and everything else and change the scope of the fight. But that remains to be seen until December 30th.
That's right. We'll see what happens. You know, everybody, there's a reaction to an action with everything, and it depends on how people go with it. You know, you can take it, and some people take it and learn and adapt to it in a fight, or some people get really emotional and frustrated and keep running into something and they start losing their own focus. So there's a lot of different ways a fight can go. And not only that, I mean, there's also there's a lot even mental leading into it. The things that you can almost tell yourself what you're worried about in a fight and all that. And it might even be things that you're making bigger than they are.
You know,
I'm telling you, every time I've gotten there, it doesn't matter who I've fought, whether I'm taller, stronger, it doesn't matter. I look across, and every time I see them across the cage from me or the ring or whatever, it is the same thought every single time I look, and I'm like, man, they look strong. Like, they look right, they've been training. They're ready, you know, they look bigger than life. You watch them on video, and you see how you can pick them apart, and then you see them when you're about to face them, and you see them at their toughest. But I look at it as it's good to recognize that I am up against a tough person, but I don't ever want it to be so much that I think, oh, I thought that with Ann Sophie. She's 6 foot. She had knocked me out in the first fight, and in the rematch I got in. I didn't have any fights in between. I just wanted the rematch. We waited 6 months to schedule a rematch. And I remember looking across, and I was like, she is big. She is
you know
big.
what? You know what, Holly? Those people are also looking across the octagon and the ring at you. So you
Yes.
never know what thoughts are going in their minds. And it's like any opponent, whether it's sports, whether it's fighting, whatever. The bottom line is they're flesh and blood like you.
Yeah.
They can, you know, they're humans. Yeah, they're not cyborgs. They're humans. She's just named Cyborg, and we have a lot of respect for Cris Cyborg. We're all fans of Cris Cyborg and her work. You're my good friend, and I'm a huge fan of yours. I love to watch you fight. And at the fact that you just turned 36 in October, and you still have the ability to get in shape, to do everything like when you're in your 20s, my question is, let's think positive. You get past Cyborg, you're now the featherweight champion of the UFC, you're a 2-belt holder in the UFC, 2-time champion. What is your ultimate goal for the future? I mean, do you want to continue to fight as long as your body holds up and your mind holds up? And I mean that in all the positive fashion that I mean it. Where do you see yourself going after this? Let's say you win the fight, and where do you go after this? Where do you want to be?
I say I don't retire after this fight, but I don't really have a goal right after. You know, I definitely want to, you know, some people say, well, do you want to go fight for the 135-pound belt again? That'd be great to be able to have both belts. I mean, in a perfect world, what would anybody want? Okay, let's have fights in both. I want to win them both, defend them both, and then retire on top of both belts. That's like the perfect world, right? So there's things you can dream about, and I call it daydreaming, because it's not something I'm consciously